Welcome back to the Howard Piano Podcast. I'm your host, Benji, and today I'm joined by one of the most accomplished and respected figures in the piano world, Mario Igrec. Mario is the chief piano technician and manager of piano maintenance at the Juilliard School in New York City. He's also an accomplished pianist, master rebuilder, software developer, and the author of Pianos Inside Out, widely regarded as one of the most comprehensive resources on piano technology, and a book that I personally recommend on an almost daily basis. He's worked with renowned artists like Richard Good, Constance Carroll, Garrick Olson, and numerous others. He has rebuilt and maintained countless high-level instruments throughout his career. And in this episode, Mario was kind enough to sit down with me for a brief conversation about his background, his experiences, and where he sees the craft headed next. I just want to say I'm super excited for this opportunity to speak with you. Your book has really become such an important part of my journey. So this really is an amazing experience for me. So, Mario, how you doing?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
Very well today. I'm just excited to be here and excited to be talking with you. You know, your book has been very influential to me, and I know that our listeners today, they want to hear you talk, not me. So I guess I could just start right off and jump into these questions if you're ready.
Sure.
Alrighty. So you have a rich background in piano performance and composition. How did your early experiences in music shape your approach to piano technology?
First and foremost, I guess it motivated me to get into piano technology because the pianos that I was using, that I was surrounded with, were not working very well. I was growing up in Croatia, in former Yugoslavia. We didn't have a lot of good pianos over there, and the pianos that, like, for example, the piano that I had, first an old upright that didn't work very well at all. But then when I was about 14 or 15 years old, my parents bought a Petrov, I think it was 173. It's like a 5'8", equivalent to an M, Steinway M. This piano had very rusty strings, and essentially in practicing, I mean, I would just like break a string or two a day. And technicians started coming up to our apartment, which was on the third floor, which it's kind of like a fourth story in an apartment building, and this guy, without an elevator. I mean, that's an important point over there. This guy didn't want to continue coming back up, and he essentially just offered to train me how to install strings myself. And I, soon acquired tools and bought a few books and just read things. And soon enough, I mean, I was like essentially restringing that piano. I had top sections of the piano fully restrung soon enough. And then, then the hammers were beaten up and grooved, no felt left. And so they needed replacing. And that's how I slowly kind of got sucked into the craft. I mean, it just was a necessity, but there was just a fascination. I mean, it's I have just always liked mechanical things, and just I was very inquisitive about how things worked, and the piano was a fascinating mechanism. I mean, the fact that you could translate these musical ideas, play any kind of music, orchestral, obviously huge repertoire in solo piano music, but chamber music, everything, essentially popular, jazz, whatever. You could just sit down and you could get it kind of to imitate the sounds of the orchestra or a combo or whatever. I mean, that was fascinating to me, and I just that was the motivation. And then I always prioritized in my approach to the piano work. I always prioritized what makes sense to me as a pianist, and not only to me, but then I started kind of slowly working for others. fixing pianos, for my own teacher, for friends, like, oh, well, they can't control pianissimo. What do I do? And then I would, I don't know, regulate, let off and drop, and like reintroduce aftertouch. I mean, these pianos, some of them didn't have aftertouch at all. It was
Right.
like, it's parts that weren't touched for 50, 60 years. But I kind of immediately started learning like what really makes sense to invest in, sort of your time and effort and all that. And rather than just doing things for the sake of the beauty of work or whatever, which I kind of got that later. I started caring for what things looked like and how they were aligned and how they looked outwardly, and especially my experience at the Bosendorfer factory kind of shaped that part of my approach. But that's how music was the driving factor behind my fascination of the piano, and that's how I got into it.
That's amazing response. Thank you for that. I agree. And, starting with something as, when you're young and you're changing these bass strings, on your grandmother's old piano, and to go from that, like you said, and then hammer shaping and all these different things, it is a skill and a craft that you learn over time. That it takes time and energy and investment to even get to the point where you're comfortable doing those different procedures. And it's I just yeah, I agree. Music at its core is, I think, what drives a lot of us into this field.
Yes.
If it's there's not a lot other than being, say, a music teacher or compose. These jobs are pretty limited at that are available out there. But a piano technician, that's, I mean, you can start your own business. You can go out there and drudge up some business for yourself if you know what you're doing, if you take the time and you have the patience. To me, this has been such a practice of patience. That is, to me, the most fundamental thing that has changed in my life since I've gotten involved in pianos is my patience has become more profound.
So absolutely, absolutely. And I think a measure of your success as a piano technician is how many more times when you're working on a piano you're willing to, after you've completed the job, you're willing to take that full board and jig blocks out and just get back in the action and redo that one little
Yes.
thing that you missed the last time. That's that persistence, perseverance, and consistency. Adherence to kind of this notion of consistency, I think, is very very, very important.
Persistence, perseverance, and consistency. I
there,
love
you-
that. I'm
there,
I'm gonna
there,
remember.
there
Yes.
you go. Big words, right?
Yes, I love that. I will remember that.
Yeah.
So you studied with some of the best pianists and composers, yet you found yourself increasingly drawn to the craft of piano tuning and servicing. Was there a
Right.
particular moment when you realized that this was your calling?
This, I think well, okay, so it kind of happened in multiple in layers. let's put it that way. Certainly that moment when I was 15 years old and when I started working on my own piano, was critical. I mean, it it became it became clear to me that I could do a lot of good for a whole lot of people who are involved in music and who otherwise would not receive good service, and just would have pianos that are in terrible shape. I saw myself as being able to sort of bridge, that chasm, and adjust the piano so it sounds good for recording, for on the stage, and that sort of steered me already in the direction of pursuing this craft more, learning this craft more. Then in college, I mean, I was just working on pianos on the side, but it was a very intense time, double majoring at first in composition and piano performance. That was very challenging, and I gave up composition in favor of piano performance. And then toward the end of that, I mean, I did competitions and stuff. I mean, I was just all consumed by that. By the time I got to Vienna, I enrolled in I got into the master's degree program over there. It used to be called Hochschule für Musik. And today it's like the university, the music university. I forgot actually. MDV, they call it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I got there. I was already kind of a little, tired of of pushing the pianistic career forward. I mean, just this endless practicing and just being, 6, 7, 8 hours. I mean, before competitions, it was just crazy how much how much time you had to and effort and you're putting into this. And I found myself in Vienna. And right before that, a piano technician from the Bosendorfer factory introduced me to the factory. I met him actually at the Busoni International Piano Competition in Bolzano in Italy. And we were talking. He was servicing the Bosendorfer that was at the competition, and he said, "Well, if you're interested, you can come to the factory and just maybe learn something there." And so uh, suddenly the factory opened doors to me. I mean, the factory was actually in 2 locations. It was, the finishing part was in Vienna, and the kind of the manufacturing, the carpentry, and just case assembly and all that. Soundboard making was in Wiener Neustadt, about an hour, 50 minutes away on the train. I started going to the factory, and I mean, the moment I walked in, I mean, I just like that may have been actually the kind of critical moment where I said, I gotta do this. I mean, this is just too good, and of course, looking at like how those people, how incredibly disciplined they were, and how I mean, it was just an amazing experience. The quality standards, the uh, adherence to a plan. Like there's just no like you don't do things arbitrarily, or like if things go wrong, you don't even submit it to the quality assurance guy. It's like people in the action department would just bring up the tiniest little problems. I mean, if they would punch, swedge a lead in the key, maybe a little off, from where they expected it to be, and they would immediately stop and just look for whether that's okay or whether they're supposed to undo that. And so I'd say that that's probably a moment when I saw myself as being able to do this. And well, then I got into the master's program in SUNY Stony Brook, which is Stony Brook University these days. As soon as I walked in there, they called the piano technician, said, "Hey, this guy claims that he can tune pianos," and this technician just came up to the office same second. I mean, it was like there was no like he it was one of those like Kramer just sliding into the shot moments, and because he was obviously totally overworked and overburdened by way too many pianos and incredibly horrible humidity and temperature control situation at the school and all that, and any help would be helpful, right? And so I auditioned for him, tuned several pianos or whatever, and I was immediately hired. And so my teaching assistantship in Stony Brook was actually working on pianos. And I had access to the shop. He trained me also, and it was just a very that at that point I would say I already wanted to be a piano technician before I wanted to continue pursuing the career. And then I got into the doctoral program, finished the first year, and a job of head piano technician became available at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, and I auditioned for that. I mean, I applied for that, and they took me. So at that point, I was clearly, already on that track. But it took a number of years, but somewhere between the age of 15 and 25, I'd say, was my transition period. And that's how I ended up in this field.
Excellent. I love that. Like it's like those little pieces. All those little pieces add up over time, and
They do. They certainly do.
you get this full picture over that time. And I'm still in the infancy, of my journey. So I'm so grateful to be hearing, your story and how it kind of came to you over many years, because I have moments, I'm sure we all have moments. Like you said, discipline is very important in this.
Yes.
And not everybody is super disciplined all the time. It's just nature of being a human being, and you can get discouraged easily with this profession. You really can. I've been there
Yeah.
myself. And if you stick through, if you surmount those challenges and add up those little things over time, like you say, from 15 to 25, there's a 10-year time span, you know, that it really set into you. It became a part of you, arguably. When you step foot into the factory in Busendorfer, it 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 had power to it, like it
Absolutely.
had
I
power
mean,
to it.
yes.
And you say those little things that they send stuff back for it. It's, that right there shows you. I mean, that's why they have, the reputation that they
Yes.
do, the
Yes,
reputation
absolutely.
for excellence. And I think that, like, your reputation for excellence is all those little things, added up over the course of your entire career. So it's just awesome to hear that, and thank you for sharing that.
A technician, when you're learning, I mean, one thing that you said earlier is you kind of lay, layers of. I mean, it's a very layered approach, and you will learn something on a basic level, and then next time, like you, in other words, you can't be the you can't gain the experience of 30 years of working on this in just 1 or 2 years. I mean, you have to
Exactly.
actually experience it. And the other thing is that a lot of technicians that I've been asked to mentor a number of people, and there's an expectation by a lot of people that a teacher will somehow just give it all to them, like they're supposed to go to schools and teachers and pay a lot of money for these things in order to get experience. And so they see a bunch of stuff, but they've never really gotten their hands dirty, if you know what I mean. It's
Yes.
I mean, one thing that really helped me shape my experience is that I didn't go. It's very interesting. I mean, I didn't go through official structured training. I didn't go to school, and I'm not saying that I recommend that. I mean, it was a very expensive process in the end. In that I had to fail many times. I mean, I would put a set of hammers, and then I would not be happy, and I'd spend a whole lot of time on voicing that set, and then ended up ripping it off, and putting another set on there, and sometimes even multiple times. but
Right.
but that was, I mean, that was cool, and
Hmm.
it's very expensive in terms of time and investment, but that is the only way that you can kind of lay those layers of experience on top of each other, rather than only base it on what you've seen somewhere, or what
Hmm.
somebody has told you, or what you have read in a book. My book, Pianos Inside Out, is hopefully, very, it's useful to people in that, I kind of just tell them what my experience is, and what other people also, how things are done. But unless you've experienced it yourself, you really cannot, you can't advance without having had that particular experience. So
Absolutely. And there's two things I would like to hit home there. You mentioned, many people have reached out to you for a mentee mentor type,
mhm.
situation. And I'm currently a mentee, and I think that people really need to understand out there that haven't been involved in this, that mentors specifically are extremely busy people, right? They're
Yes.
full-time piano technicians running their own businesses often, and they have a million inquiries from clients, every day, because there's so few technicians out there, depending
Very
on where
true.
you live. But
Yes.
across the
Yeah.
globe, generally speaking, it is a very, high demand, short supply kind of profession. And
Yes, it
um,
is.
it's one of those things where I've there comes the patience again. You have to understand that a mentor is someone that has their own things going on. Just because you decide you want to learn piano technology doesn't mean they're going to drop everything. This is a self discipline kind of thing, in my opinion. You can go to school
Yes.
for it. There are many great schools for it. I've covered them in previous episodes. The thing is those schools can only get you so far, in my opinion. I think that you really have to find it within yourself. If you have a passion for pianos and a passion for piano technology, to find it in yourself, to dig down deep and really understand that this is a lifelong endeavor. This is not something
Yes.
that you just go work for a couple years and you find another job. Like, this is a passion. It's a thing that few people are drawn to, but the people that are drawn to it usually become obsessed with it. Um, so I guess I just want to hit that home, because I think there's a lot of misconception out there of like, this is kind of an untraditional career path, and there are many ways to go about getting involved in it, and it's about picking which one's the best for you as an individual. Some people learn better
Yes.
by going to a school. Some people learn better by having a mentor. It depends, but ultimately it's on you as the individual to hone your craft, like you said, gain the experience. I don't necessarily recommend this because a lot of them are junk, but some of the best experience I've had is just getting free junker pianos and trying to, mess with
Yes.
them, tear them apart. Just tear them apart. They're already broken, tear them apart. See what goes where. Um, it's really like that hands-on experience, like you said, has been one of the more, helpful things in my journey throughout this. So it's, yes, I could not agree more with that. All this that we've covered about your background, there's many aspects to your career, as it's been, it's spanned many decades now. What would you say is the most fulfilling aspect of your career, whether it's in pianos or software development? You are a software developer as well.
Right. Yeah. We haven't really talked about software development, part of my involvement, I guess. Um, there were many, like, okay, I can say that in piano technology, I saw piano rebuilding as probably the most fulfilling thing. I just, because it was very creative. It was an opportunity to change the character of the instrument from being perhaps, I don't know, light, junky, very bright sounding and not working very well, to, to playing better. I mean, touch adjustment, for example, is a big topic, right? And that's a huge area where you can mess it up. You just install hammers that are too heavy, and then you wonder, like, I mean, that's one thing that, at the time was not understood as well as it is today. But just rebuilding in general was very fulfilling to me. That's not to say that it needs to be fulfilling to everyone, and kind of goes back to what you were saying about, the whole experience and learning the craft. I would say that specialization, or, before you specialize, of course, you're supposed to experience as much of the variety of things that you could do within the field of piano technology. And rebuilding, certainly one very wide and very huge area of it, uh, which happens to have been very fulfilling to me. But one thing that I learned a bit too late, maybe. I mean, I insisted on doing everything. I mean, I was refinishing in the beginning. I was doing all kinds of carpentry projects, and I was doing back actions and keyboards. And I'm just crazy. Like, why would you do all of that if there are people who specialize in it and who can do the key tops and who can do the bushings and all that? But I had to do it myself, and I had to figure out the best way to do it and all of that. But eventually I learned that where people value me the most was in adjusting the tone. In other words, concert prep,
Mm-hmm.
uh, working for, like, I started working for recording sessions, and just eventually, as I ended up at LSU, this was 1987. I was involved in a lot of, just preparing the pianos, maintaining the pianos for concert series, and daily recitals and that kind of stuff. And I quickly learned that people in the community valued the most. I mean, they were gonna pay me anything that I wanted to be paid at that time for the work that would improve what the piano sounds like and what it feels like. I mean, touch and tone. I'd say that's those two things became my the thing that I kind of focused on later. But in software, I mean, I was involved in software engineering. I started with database, in database engineering and database applications that sort of plugged in the kind of functionality that companies didn't have access to through their very expensive either accounting or ERP software or whatever else. And I ended up kind of in the customer relationship management area, which used to be called Salesforce automation at the time, and even partnered with a guy that I developed a system for his company, kind of binding together the inside and outside sales forces, and in putting everybody on the same page in terms of software. That got to be absolutely fascinating to me, and we eventually formed the company, got some venture funding and incredible amount of support, and grew the company quite a bit. And that was probably the pinnacle of the most fulfilling things in my life, simply because creating software is a very godlike experience, in that you are creating not just the world, you're creating the physics of the world, right? So you're deciding whether there's going to be this kind of access to data, or whether it's going to be abstract. And I always loved dealing with abstractions, dealing with the algorithm that solves the problem systemically rather than solving the problem. If you know what I mean.
That. Yes, I love
it's
that.
like it's building systems that will solve this kind of problem for anyone, and that was just phenomenal. And the company, I mean, it was called Celtis, and we sold it in 2015. It just kind of ran its course for us, for that current team, and it became necessary to just sell it. And so I ended up in 2015. This is 2 years after I'd published the book, Pianos Inside Out. I found myself at a crossroads, and that's when I actually joined North Bennett Street School in Boston. As an instructor for a year, and then after that moved to New York and became a technician for Faust Harrison Pianos. Worked for them for a couple of years, also as a kind of head technician, I guess, and working on the tone, and tone and touch adjustments of a lot of pianos and a lot of their premium rebuilds, which then led to my current job at the Juilliard School, which was kind of a return back to the academic environment and involvement.
What's Juilliard? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's that little tiny little school for a few music students in New York City. Yeah,
I may have heard of it. I don't know. I love what you said about abstractions. And I think there's a direct correlation there between software development and pianos. The piano is a very abstract kind of thing,
Yeah, and I agree with that absolutely. And I can say that one thing about the whole tone production, pianism in general, is full of these abstract concepts that are very hard to pin down. And I mean, when we talk about the tonal qualities, or compared, why we like the Steinway or that Bosendorfer or that Bechstein or whatever, you're comparing things that really cannot be quantified
Yes.
in any tangible way.
Hmm.
You have to really resort to sort of abstract thinking, and just it is that's a big abstraction in itself.
Yeah.
Um,
Every piano has a soul to me, at least in my opinion. And I think that what you were touching on about tone and touch is what really makes that soul come alive.
mhm,
It's what makes that
mhm.
piano sing. So I could go up to a piano before you and make it sound okay, probably, hopefully, maybe. And then you come to it with your lifetime of experience and wealth of information and knowledge, and that piano is going to sound completely different. um and I think that's the mark of a master. I mean, I don't want to, you are a master at your craft. You've become over your life a master at what you do, and that's why people have sought you out for your tone and your touch capabilities. And I think that that's somewhere I myself want to be a rebuilder, and I would aspire to be there one day myself. So I yeah, the abstractions and the tone and touch, and I just think all of that plays together, and I see why those have become the most fulfilling aspects of your career and your life, because they do go hand in hand. It shows that you have a bit of an abstract mind. You're able to correlate these different things in different completely different realms, even completely different realms of
Very
industry,
true.
and
Yep.
still bring these things together and make this abstract thing not so abstract. And
Hmm.
I love that, and I respect that. So thank you for that. um I do have a couple more questions.
Hmm.
For young technicians or musicians who might be interested in piano technology or performance, since you have a background in performance as well, what advice would you give them moving into the future?
For piano technicians, in general, I would say that work on your piano performance skills. Work on understanding the piano from the musical side of things, not just mechanical, technical. The understanding, I mean, the technical understanding obviously is super important. No, there's no running away from that. But just understand it. Try to figure out. Try to build your piano playing skills so that you can start feeling the pianos from that perspective. It's not only about how you feel the pianos, or how you feel how the piano is allowing you to translate your musical ideas in actual music, but to understand also what musicians experience at the piano, because you're going to work for musicians, presumably. I mean, in some cases, of course, it will be just working for someone who doesn't really play very well, or it's a player piano. It's maybe a stereo or a disc clavier or something like that, and they will never really touch the piano. But generally, where the value of our career lies in working for accomplished musicians. I mean, that's sort of the most fulfilling aspect of our involvement. And to understand what the pianist is talking about, it takes having considerable piano skills. So that would be the first thing that I would really recommend. And then for a technician, starting with a very broad experience is probably very useful. In other words, if you can vary your exposure between a piano store, a piano rebuilder, perhaps a factory, perhaps a college, like as many experiences that you can expose yourself to, so you're not just stuck in servicing cheap pianos, or just stuck in voicing and concert prepping pianos, but really you've never really restrung a piano. Like if you can just get as much experience as you can, and then listen to what you resonate with best, and find your niche, and what the world values the most in you. In my case, that was concert prep and that sort of work. But for somebody else, that may be just I don't know, shop work of some kind. You may find that you're really great at. Have no idea. I mean, like I don't know. Building new keyboards, and I mean, the Rayburns are probably thinking like, oh well, we can take care of that, very well. But I mean, just like find what you can be of greatest value to the world, and then build your skills in that area that as deeply as possible. Um, if you are in a more sophisticated, or not sophisticated, just larger environment, uh, like in Boston, I forgot, the list of piano technicians was like multiple pages, very
Wow.
tightly spaced. It was like a listing. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that must have been several hundred names. And
Yeah.
uh, in an area like that, in New York, for example, Boston, areas like that, you can specialize.
Yeah.
And you probably should. I mean, you can do things, you can do whatever you want, but but do try to find, again, that's finding your niche, and specializing in one aspect of it, and then offering that to other technicians might not be a bad idea. You are doing the service, like you love stringing. In New York, we lack stringers.
Right. Right.
If you can string, you can be of real value, and earn very good money and all that. But this specialization aspect of it, it's uh, in legal profession, in obviously in medicine, in
Yeah.
even veterinary. I mean, you will have people who specialize in surgery, or this type of, like certain areas.
Yep.
And that allows them to go very deep in that area. In piano technology, for some reason, um, that's not a good, that's not a practice
Mm-hmm.
that has kind of taken hold. I mean, piano technicians, at least I remember, I mean, when I was in Baton Rouge, and later in New Orleans, piano technicians saw each other as competition mainly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're going to steal my customer. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I mean, it's not about that. We're all different, and customers are going to find each one of us based on our specific uh, areas of, specialization. But I mean, areas in which we thrive and are very good, and in which we can provide the greatest value to them. And so, why not allow people who do things very well in one area do that thing in that area, and provide that's the best value add in my mind. So anyway.
Exactly, exactly. And like we've touched on these specializations, and it depends on largely where you're at. Like you said, Boston, New York, some areas like that, you can really, you know, hammer home a niche there. You could really, like you said,
Yes.
stringing, or you could be, hanging hammers. You've
Yeah.
got like you said, Rayburn does keyboards. We got Brooks, they do, they hang hammers. I mean, there's
Oh.
these different companies that are available to technicians that if you could get involved in one of these specialty niches, even if you're in a more rural area, considering where I'm
Yes.
at here in southern West Virginia, there's not as much competition, right? So if I could, in my skill set, be more broad spectrum, I can service a plethora of clients. But if I also specialize that niche, then I'm going to be able to do something that maybe nobody else around here can do. So I think that it is important, your geographic location. Um, but even in a rural area, depending on how hard you're willing to work, you can thrive
Hmm?
anywhere. And like
Yes.
you said, with the competition aspect, I don't understand why this industry particular there's never been just this healthy embodiment of competition, right? Like every other industry, there's competitive market,
Hmm.
every other industry.
Yes.
But like you said, this one, it's like, oh, they're going to steal, my clients. And I don't think that's a healthy way, of viewing it, especially moving in forward to the future when there's so many techs retiring and getting out of the
Yes.
game.
Yep.
That's
Absolutely.
why, I'm so appreciative of people like you that are willing to take the time to share their knowledge and and help out this new generation. There's going to be new techs coming up. I mean, pianos are going to be around no matter what. So finding a specialization, I could not agree more. That to me, for me, is rebuilding in some capacity. I'm still figuring that out, right? I'm still finding out exactly
Right.
what I want to do in this. For me right now, my biggest thing is making sure my unisons are good. I mean,
Well, I mean, sure. And
yeah,
I mean that takes a long time to actually master, with so many pianos out there that behave in
yes,
such a an array of ways. I mean,
yes,
where you just learning that aspect of it, and then becoming a really very good tuner is huge. Well, that in
mhm,
itself is of great value. Being able to repair things in the pianos that comprise the bulk of your service area of your market. Being able to provide service for that. I mean, I know technicians who've kind of specialized in spinets,
right,
and that sounds like that like, oh well, why would you work? Spinets are going to be, but I mean, they still hold a lot of sentimental value to people. They're there and they need to be serviced. Well, that may be, it's a valid, all of these things are very valid approaches, and it's just important to be kind of realistic and truthful to yourself. Just admit where your strengths are and where your weaknesses may be, and where your um, you tend to kind of discover that in life as you go on, and unfortunately a little too late, as it
yeah,
seems always. But
yes,
but anyway, but that, yeah, no, it's absolutely true that that competition, for example, you just have to look at it differently than, well, it's just about cutthroat, like I'm gonna steal your customer, you're gonna steal my customer, and
yeah.
it's, and
There's
that's what
plenty.
it's about, because that's not what it's about. I mean, there's
Hmm.
there's a very very large amount of opportunity out there, and our greatest competitor is inaction. Is inaction on the
Yeah.
part of the customers,
Yes.
who have had bad experience with some technician in the past, and who, I know so many pianists who, well, this is kind of how I started. I would offer to, or just point out, like, well, your action just isn't working right. I mean, you have
Hmm.
this piano is just not expressive, and they would say, well, I had it tuned, don't touch it, and
Hmm.
then I would like, well, why is that? And they had horrible experiences, and one bad experience can lead to a lot of neglect down the road, and even though they're completely willing to spend the money. So it's another thing to kind of keep in mind when you're selling your services, to
Absolutely.
to make sure that you can address that thing.
What you just said about selling your services, that right there, I think is so important to point out and to remind people of, is like, you are, as a piano technician, conducting your own business, and people need a reminder. They need a reminder. They need to be told, hey, it's time for your piano to be tuned. They need to be told, like you said, hey, your action's a little bit, it needs adjusted. We can take
Yes.
care of that for you. They're coming to you as the service professional. It's your
Yes.
job to tell the customer what that piano needs, because they don't know. That's why they're calling you. So I think that's just really important caveat to hit home, is sell your services. You are in a
Yes.
service based business. Sell your services.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
And it's not only about enriching yourself and selling services with which you're gonna print money. I mean, it's not about that. It's about satisfying the need that exists out there, and improving the experience of the customer. I
Yes.
mean, you are, through that, you're increasing their engagement with the instrument. If you don't, if if the instrument isn't working right, they're just not going to appreciate it, and the interest goes down. If a child is learning on a piano that isn't working right, and you haven't mentioned that, you're doing real disservice to the customer
Yes.
and to yourself, of course. I mean,
Yes.
that's very important. I would say this also is kind of a novel idea. Think of yourself as a solution provider. You're solving a wider problem than just tuning the piano. If you see yourself as a tuner, you're pigeonholing yourself in a very narrow kind of vision of what your value add is. Your value add ought to be solving the problem of increasing engagement with the piano, increasing people's appreciation of the instrument, and just overall fulfillment with the piano. What does that mean? That means figuring out, is the piano in the best acoustic spot in the room? Is that something that, I mean, if you see that they really savor and love the sound of the piano, but it's stuck in a corner in a way, or perhaps it's away from a corner that would benefit it.
It's right next to a sliding glass door.
Exactly. I mean, who knows what, and like also in terms of maintenance, we're often, we're just gonna go in there and just tune and look to just leave as quickly as possible. Having that 10-minute conversation afterwards about how, things that have to do with maintenance, just avoid this little, air conditioning vent here that the piano's sitting under is not the best thing for it. Uh, increasing people's awareness of what, what it takes to maintain the piano and to keep it in best shape possible. Also, possibly getting other people involved in contracting their services. It doesn't have to be you who regulates that action. It doesn't have to be you who restrings the piano. And most technicians see as what they can offer as, the services that they can actually perform themselves.
Sole provider, yeah.
So, and if you see yourself as a solution provider, now you see yourself as someone who's gonna why don't we establish partner relationships with 5-6 technicians in the area who can provide services that we, and maybe you even take a cut and subcontract part of the work. Maybe that's how you approach it. And maybe you send the customer to that person, or not send them, but get that person to come in and perform the service. If you can trust them to do a really good job, and you don't have to supervise them and that kind of thing. You don't have to build your own company with your own employees and with all of that, but just basically have a very good partnerships and partner relations with people who are very good at particular aspects of it. The piano needs voicing. You don't feel super qualified to do that work. Why not send someone who can do the voicing?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, even if it takes paying for travel and all that, well, shield the customer perhaps from all of that.
Absolutely.
Make it convenient. Make it very convenient. I mean, think how you like when you have a problem and you have to, solve the problem on your house, on your car, I don't know. You like places that will solve the problem for you. So solution provider mentality, I think goes a long way.
I love that solution provider mentality. Really, I think something too that you said, like appreciating your customer's instrument is going to make them appreciate your services. So if you take that extra time, like you said, take the extra 10 minutes to talk to them, to go over some of the things that maybe could be done to improve the performance of the piano that don't necessarily need to be done today and don't necessarily need to be done by you, like you said. But showing that vested interest in their instrument is going to make them care about you and your services. So I think that really hits home. Appreciation. Yes, appreciation.
No, no,
And
absolutely. And I mean, first you have to learn the technicalities of the craft, right? And you have to learn how to do things. But if you don't do everything, just go find a way that can be accomplished for the customer. And now you're going to be beloved, you're going to be recommended, you're going to be cherished in the community. Everybody's going to know that they want to go to Benji for, because he's going to solve their problem. um, I mean, okay, I don't want to like expand this to outside of the piano technology area, but there were things that I did for customers that, for example, I don't know. In one case, I fixed a door lock
right.
for a
Yep.
customer. The
Yep.
thing was binding, and I had some good, whatever TF or Pro Lube. I forgot what I used on there, but I managed to clean the thing and actually lubricate it, and it was it was as if I mean, they loved me. They recommended me
Yep.
for the rest of their life, and I mean, and that reinforced kind of their opinion of me as an absolute expert in the piano action the area,
Right.
because if
So
he
you
can
fix
do
that.
this, he can do
Yes.
that. And so you see problems that of course that affect the piano and enjoyment of the piano in a in a space, for example. Just uh, offer solution.
Yes.
That is how I see, at least, my my role.
Absolutely. I think it's important, yeah, to touch on the importance of networking. Like you would just, I
Yes,
mean,
that's
it's
huge.
yeah, it's any industry. It doesn't matter. A lot of people get into this thinking, well, I'll just be working by myself, won't really have to, like, that's part of the appeal of it. And yes, you spend a lot of time working by yourself, but
Mhm.
networking is still crucial. And I think
Yes.
that you pointed out just a huge that I personally had never even really thought about. What if I contract somebody out to do the voice? I personally have never thought about that. So yeah, I think networking and being appreciative of your customer's instrument, and also just their house and everything else that's in it, and being respectful, you
Yeah.
know cleaning up after yourself, doing
Huge.
huge.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, yeah. Oh, that's a big pet peeve of mine. I mean, when people who work on anywhere, anything on the house, and they don't clean up. I mean, that with pianos, it's very, very, it's critical. I mean,
Absolutely.
you have to clean up that whole space. Don't soil the carpet. I mean,
Yep.
don't create new stains on the white carpet and that
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Exactly.
Uh,
So Mario, what's next for you? Are there any upcoming projects, research, innovations, anything that's got you excited in the world of piano technology?
I am considering, but I've had a lot of inquiries about the ebook version of Pianos Inside Out. It's been tough, maybe because I'm a little mentally stuck in my own way of learning is very page oriented, very um, tactile, book opened here, and then I kind of I have that sort of visual memory that and people don't share that, necessarily, but I think that the physical, paper book as a way of a primary means of learning something is good, important, uh, just as a medium is a good way of accomplishing that. But I fully acknowledge the need for being able to carry it with you, to be able to look things up when you're on the road, perhaps having the book read aloud while you're driving long distance, that kind of thing. I mean, just it's we're it's we don't live in the 90s and the
Yeah.
2000s anymore. I mean, this is a new day, and
Hmm.
that's something that I have been looking into. I've also been looking into updating the book into a second edition.
Okay.
um, the need for for color illustrations is great. Whether there should be videos and that kind of thing. I mean, I think that would be a fantastic idea. I'm just not sure that I am necessarily willing to invest that far into that aspect of it. But that's, this second edition of the book would be a very important but large, big
Huge undertaking.
huge undertaking for sure. And then my wife, who's a pianist, and I have for a long time, she's been wanting us to get a book done that would be for piano owners.
Okay.
That would be a book about how to appreciate and love and take care of the piano, and not maybe only how to, but also why to kind of love it, and what happens when you give an instrument in bad shape to a child and expect the child to learn on a well, let's just give them this keyboard or something, and then they will gain interest magically, that kind of thing. So this little piano book, or whatever we're going to call it, is another project that I've been sort of writing that, and touch analysis has always interested me. In fact, I don't if you haven't looked at a practical touch analyzer, there's software that I have already created. I think it's just done as an Excel spreadsheet, which you can find under the bonus tab on pianosinside-out.com website. It's called Practical Touch, and there's the analysis software for just one note that you can perform non-invasively with certain tools. And non-invasively meaning that you don't have to actually take the action out of the piano. Okay. So you can perform an analysis that will tell you, at least based on this one note in the piano, which is in the middle and accessible between the strings and all that, where you can actually like pull the hammer away from the from the action, and like separate and isolate the key from the hammer, etc., and measure the things that will tell you how the action performs and how it can perform. And it's all color coded and beautiful, and you can do that one note analysis and actually show the customer what's going on. And if there's a sea of red in there, red color, that means things are bad, right? And if there's a sea of green color, that means things are good. And if it's very blue, that means things are on the light side, just to fly away light and that kind of thing. So anyway, so that was something that I did several years ago, and I was even selling a kit of the tools that are needed for this. But these tools can be, I would just encourage people to look at the documentation for the kit, and actually there's like a whole class that's available on Practical Touch that I would recommend people to take a look at if they're going to look into this. But this spreadsheet can be a fantastic sales tool for a touch adjustment for the discerning customer who has, for example, had a piano rebuilt, and perhaps somebody put hammers of inappropriate weight, and the tone's not right, the touch is even worse, and so what can we do about it? This can be a helpful thing. So now I've actually put together, but wonder how to distribute that, a version of this analysis tool for all 88 notes, and that's in rebuilding, when you are starting to rebuild and deciding what hammers to use, how to weigh off the action, and other things having to do with rebuilding the action. There's a spreadsheet that I have put together that tells you, that gives you the analysis of and with the what if scenarios and that kind of thing. And so that's one thing that I'll probably end up working on just as soon as I have enough time from all of these other projects. But that's kind of the things that I'm interested in at this point.
Well, those all are very fascinating in their own right. The I think that is one of the coolest things that I'm really interested in that. So I mean, after we're done with this,
Check
I
it
want
out.
to
Check it
yeah, I'm
out.
definitely going to check that out because that's just
Yes.
fascinating. I love the idea of you and your wife making a book for the piano owner. I think that is a amazing idea, and I think my little piano book sounds like a great title. Honestly, like that's a I mean
There you
just
go.
yeah,
I mean,
it's a
yes. I
great
mean,
little
uh, there have been. I mean, Larry Fine wrote the piano book, right?
the
I mean,
piano book.
he
Yeah.
he had that, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever. I thought it was fantastic, and then that got out of print, and then he had the piano buyer, which sort
Hmm.
of absorbed a lot of the material and
Yeah.
ideas from the piano book. Um, and then that grew, and that, the pianobuyer.com today is one of the most comprehensive resources on approaching piano purchase, maintenance, just all aspects of it. And I have always felt that, why am I answering all of these questions? I mean, going back to like solving things systemically, right, and
Hmm.
abstracting sort of something into a tool, an algorithm. So I'm trying to come up with a way that people can get information easily and very in a very concise manner about how to maintain the piano, but also how to appreciate it, what the differences are, and just like in general navigating the field in a concise way.
I love that. I think that's yeah, that would be a wonderful addition to this industry as a whole. As well as I know it's a lot of work to get it done, but the PDF
Yeah, it is.
version of Pianos Inside Out would be that'd be amazing. I would keep it on my phone in my pocket every every time I'm out.
Right, right. No,
So
no. I fully acknowledge that. I kind of apologize to everybody who's wanted to have it for a long time. That it's more. There are more issues involved in that than meet the eye,
but
and so
there is
it's
hope.
it's yeah, well, I mean, the kind of book, I mean, the number of cross references in Pianos Inside Out are tremendous. It's like essentially everything gets to be covered in one spot, and
Hmm.
then gets to be referenced from scores of places,
Hundreds, yeah.
and so it was just very important for me that aspect of it doesn't get lost, and that people don't just receive one big scroll of text, kind of like novels are, published on, for example, Kindle, in
Hmm.
Kindle or whatever. Um, that would greatly reduce the value, I think, of the book if you, it's not for just linear reading. So how do you
Hmm.
present it in a digital format that allows kind of jumping back and forth and not losing your place, and
Hmm.
having, is that the bookmarks, or is that enough? Because bookmarks themselves are kind of a linear concept. You just
Yeah.
have a bunch of them, and so there have to be certain hierarchies and stuff that is all achieved when you have a physical book in front of you, simply
Hmm.
because you know that you were here and there, and you can put little tags and
Yeah,
things like that.
it's not as easy as flipping to chapter 4 tuning.
Yes, yeah,
It's just not that
right.
simple with an ebook. So
That's right. That's right. And so I've just wanted to make sure that it's done right, and as useful as it probably needs to be.
yeah,
As I would like it to be.
absolutely. Well, Mario, I don't want to take up too much of your time today. I thank you for the time that you've spent with us and for honestly just all of your contributions to this craft.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I'm the guy that reads the books and I'm getting to talk to the man that wrote the book, so that's a really cool experience for me. And yeah, I just wish you the best of luck in all your future
Thank you.
endeavors, and I'm looking forward to anything you put out. And everybody that's listening out there, be sure to check out Pianos Inside Out, because if you call me, I'm going to tell you to read it. So just save yourself some time, go online, go ahead and get it, and we can talk about it anytime you want. But Mario, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Is there any final
Thank you.
comments or anything that you would like to say?
Um, well, just one thing that occurred to me at the pianosinsideout.com website, you have all of my classes available as downloads.
Yes.
So if there's anything that that anyone is interested in, they can access it there. And so these are not even password protected or anything. And just go download and take a look, and and then if it's not good for you, throw into the fire,
Right.
but
Right.
no,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that people know that all of that material is out there, and I just want it to be readily available for anyone to use. So anyway, just
Absolutely. Yeah. Go to pianosinsideout.com. And what is the tab? It's the practical
this will be under classes,
classes.
and then there's the bonus content as well that talks about mainly practical touch, but some other aspects of it. I
Okay.
mean, just the whole website's kind of
It's just,
oriented
yeah,
on
it's a wealth of information is what it
the
is.
all appendices of the book, which is a list of resources, bibliography. So things of that nature are all in full available on the website under, I think, look inside maybe, or
Yeah,
so you will find it. There aren't that many tabs up there, but
absolutely. But it's there, and be sure to check it out because it's right there and available to you. And like me and Mario had said earlier, a lot of this career in piano technology is on you as the individual. If the information is out there, you just need to find it. If you continue to seek, you
that's
will
right.
find. So, uh,
Yes, yes. And
thank you again.
I want to thank you. I want to thank Howard Industries for supporting Pianos Inside Out, for supporting me over the years, and for supporting the community of not only professional piano technicians, but people who are interested in doing things for themselves or learning the craft from the outside, and who don't have otherwise access to professional accounts with suppliers who are focused on the piano, on professional piano technicians, but rather kind of enabling everyone and internationally. And I think that that's a very valuable service
I
to
I
everyone.
really truly do appreciate you saying that, Mario, because I get a little bit of flack, sometimes from people in the industry
Yeah,
because
no, that's
it's kind of a private, it's a private industry, people don't want people knocking down their door, and it's one of those things where I never give advice to a customer on something I guess I'll just put it this way. I'm never in a position and never will be in a position to tell somebody what they can and cannot do. So I think it's
yes,
very important that people have free and unfettered access to information, and that information is with whatever you want to do with it. But I think
yeah,
to gatekeep is it's not what I'm about. It's not what Howard's about. And I'm just very grateful to you and to the entire community, to our customers, to the general public. That I mean, you'd be surprised at just how many people call me and just to ask questions about their piano, and I'm happy to answer
yeah,
them because I love pianos. I do. I love talking about them, and I'll talk about them all day, every day. But it is one of those things where I feel a sense of pride in that people can call me and call Howard and ask, hey, I need what size tuning tip is going to work best for my piano, and of course and I know, and everybody in this industry knows that number two is going to be what you need for most modern pianos, but they don't necessarily know that. That's not just it takes us years to get this information, and I I don't think that anybody is asking questions for any ill purpose, right? Like they just want to
right,
know. They're just curious.
yes.
They still oftentimes will hire a technician down the road. I've personally
That's a
recommended technicians.
look. I
Um,
mean, that's a hugely important point. Uh, and goes back to what we were talking about earlier about that whole competitive environment in among piano technicians, where piano technicians see that the craft somehow has to be protected. I mean, the whole guild mentality of like pushing everybody outside of it away rather than opening the doors and saying, come in. And it's very, as a side note, it's very interesting to say to for me to note that Piano Technicians Guild has the word guild in its name, but doesn't behave that way. They really have been extremely inclusive. The local chapters of Piano Technicians Guild accept, we'll take in people from the outside and welcome them. Um, we'll answer questions and we'll involve and all that, and it's really more like a Piano Technicians Association rather than guild. And but let's not, I mean, that's another, why they're called that. That's irrelevant here. What is important is that piano technicians should not see allowing people from outside of the profession to be involved as competition and as threat. And
Yes.
they should not see someone who sells piano tuning hammers, for example, or other tools, strings or whatever, as, oh well, that's taking away from my business. Well, maybe it is in a very short term and in that particular case, but in that particular case, it would take it away anyway because the person is interested and they want to do things on their own or they want to be empowered. I mean, if somebody seeking that is only going to become a customer down the road,
Yep.
is only going to become more knowledgeable and able to discern and recommend service better, and eventually are going to find out. I mean, I would love for every pianist to try tuning the piano on their own.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yes. And this is
Yes, please.
that's
Please, everybody go and try to do it. And then if you can do it, join the ranks of professional piano technicians. Maybe
yeah.
you even will switch the careers. And that has happened actually in multiple cases in my life with people that I have been involved with on various levels, where pianists who just discovered that they are very good at this. And I mean, that's a gain.
Mm.
But the most people are just not going to, of course, the majority are not going to be interested in this kind of work, are going to find that it's very awkward to do, that that they have really, put their piano more out of tune than it was in the beginning, and that they now need professional help. And that is, again, an increasing engagement. And with increased engagement, we all benefit. So please, piano technicians, don't see Howard or any of the other independent sources of information and materials for working on pianos as competition or threat of any kind.
I
You know,
I I really appreciate that, Mario, because really, I kind of view it like this. I get questions every day from customers all over the world asking me how to fix something on their piano or how to
mm-hmm.
tune their piano or this or that. And I love those questions because every single one of us had that question at some point, right? Like we all
Yes,
started as these people that are contacting us
that's right.
every day. And I see it as no different because this is so hard. It's hard to do. This is not an easy thing to do. And people will try it out. They will either love it or they will not like it. So it's like out of 100 people that say I sell a tuning hammer to, and so they can try to tune their own piano. But 100 people, maybe one, maybe one, and that's being generous, honestly, will
Yes.
get into this as a profession. More often than not, what's going to happen is they're going to tune their piano. They're going to do a decent job, hopefully, if they've watched all the videos and have put in the time and effort. And then they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, well, this doesn't sound like it did when Steve tuned it. You know what I mean? Like, let's get Steve back in
Exactly.
here. So it's like, it's until they spend the time and the effort and the energy and investment into this, then, it's one of those things where I think that competition aspect is largely based in fear and an unrealistic fear. I want this at least my part, and I plan on doing this the rest of my life. I'm trying to be very involved in this community. And I love pianos more than anything, really, except my family. And I can't imagine a world in which I'm not doing this. So it's like, I guess either way, folks, like I'm here to stay, right? So just like, I want to play nice. Let's all play nice and get along and build a thriving community. In the first episode of the podcast, I say something about, this is an inclusive community that's open to all. And I say that because it's not a truth. It's because it's what I believe in. It's because I believe we can get there. Because right now it's not a truth. But by the time I'm, up in my years and hopefully a master of this craft, I hope that I can look back on this conversation with Mario Igrec and be proud of the things that I've said and done and saw them through, because I truly believe that building an inclusive community of people that aren't just technicians, but just people that are interested in pianos. I don't care if you want to fix it or you want to play it. I just want to talk about them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like everybody has a seat at my table, at Howard's table,
nice.
And I really want that to be, I guess what I'm known for, I guess, I don't know.
That is your calling now. So you feel it. You feel it that way.
I do.
I believe so strongly in freedom of choice, and allowing. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not that the field is like, I see so much opportunity for piano work wasted on again this inaction, because people have had bad experience, or because piano technicians just run away literally from anything that they're uncomfortable doing. Well, they'll tune the piano, it needs voicing, but I'm not good at voicing, and I'm just kind of like, quick, close it and pick up the check and just run out. That's like that. I wish that changed. And speaking of those tuning hammers that you sell to customers, those who sell to non-professional customers, maybe they will learn how to retune a new string that a technician has put for them, or maybe they will learn how to put strings in, and they'll step on the path of discovering this and becoming the next piano technician themselves. But again, that's going to be that 1 out of 100. And in the meantime, everybody's happier about using their piano or hiring their technician.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
Because they have learned what it actually takes and what the real value we can provide as technicians. So there, benefit all around, a big win-win situation.
I love it. I love it. And I say, let's call this on a win-win, because
yes,
it's been such a pleasure and a privilege to speak with you. Truly, I can't put into words how grateful I really am. It's this to me is a big deal. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see, what the future holds. And just, I want to reiterate, everybody, like, this right here is Mario Igrec. This is the man that wrote Pianos Inside Out. Make sure that if you have questions about piano technology, you're interested in getting into it, you're maybe having trouble finding a mentor near you because you live in a rural area, this is what you need. Get this book. Mario, I
thank you.
I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, Benji, and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you.